like when Jake, he gets all pumped up. Okay, we're live. We're live, baby.
He was killing me last night. Like he was laughing so bad, like he couldn't even breathe.
It was, I think he had more fun than the rest of us did, which was fine. Oh my goodness, we got a ton of people already on the live, on the
Hey,
LinkedIn. Uh, what's going on, you beautiful people? I'm sorry, I'm distracted because I'm looking at the LinkedIn and getting counts. Here we go. Okay, boom. Good morning, Miss Jennifer.
good
How are
morning.
you?
I am doing amazing this morning.
Oh my goodness. Y'all out there in virtual land. Jennifer was pranking me this morning on our pregame call. I was like, "Oh my God, she's not here. I'm gonna have to do that." And then she popped up. I was like, "Okay, everything's great. I love it. I love it." So we're here. It's another Saturday. We're going to be speaking about the fifth S, which is sustain, and of course, it's based on my missteps that I've made across the years that I've been alive. And we're going to go to the chat. What do you say we go to the chat and see who's checking in?
Woo!
And we got a bunch of them. Look at that. We got Brian Winningham, Field Driven Lean. He says, "Hello, folks." Oh man, look at that. We got John Thacker. Got
Ooh.
to hang out with John last night
Yeah,
on the
that was amusing.
y'all need to go and hit up John and follow him because he's like an amazing singer. Did you get that part? Like he tore it up.
You did.
Miss
I think it's
Jamie
recorded.
Knox.
I think it's
It
recorded.
is recorded.
You can go back and listen.
Yeah, you can go back and listen to that. We got Miss Jamie Knox. What's up, girlfriend? Steve Turner. This is Ultra Steve Turner. By the way, with Bring Back the Trades, we will be releasing his. We got to interview him last week, and so his episode. We're going to be airing his episode this coming Thursday, so y'all check that out. But before then, go to his website, bringbackthetrades.com, and support it, man, because that's what we're here for. We're here to enhance the image of careers in the trades, and Steve is doing a bang up job of exactly that. Brian is from San Antonio. Oh, here we go. We got Mr. Nakash, who has been faithfully participating. Thank you, Nakash. Richard Ortega. Good morning, Richard. What's going on, people? Man, we got some action going on this morning. Jason Haynes, good morning, all. Good morning, Jason. Oh, there we go. John Morgan Freeman Thacker.
Yeah,
Like
he does is spot on. He really does.
it was good. It was so good. And like next time, John said the next time he's gonna sing as Morgan Freeman opera style.
I don't think John knows that yet, but okay.
Now he does. We got Mr. Hoots. Says, "Good morning, fam." He's here for the wrap up. Well, should we drop the teaser?
Yeah, we can, and then we'll keep going. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So this isn't the last session that Jen and I are going to have. Well, maybe technically it's the last session that Jen and I.
It's the last S we're hitting.
Yes, very, very well said.
We're not doing 17S. We're doing 5, and then we're doing the wrap up. Yes.
Yep. And so that means we're going to be having another, probably a wrap up, and it will be with some very special guests because we're going to have some real more depth and more serious tone to that conversation. And it was a result of all the feedback that we received from everybody here, along with the conversations that we've had in the after party. And we got another one scheduled for today, Clubhouse after party. The link is in the chat, so go to the link. As well, there'll be a 5-minute gap when we close this conversation, and then we're going to be on Clubhouse so that we can talk and get to know each other a little bit more, take the idea further, and see how we can help each other. Another point to think about. These conversations, I'm just going to go there, right? Like, oh, well, this was off script. As we started this conversation, we were talking, we felt like we needed to really tie it to construction and tie it to the job site. And we did that. Like, well, actually, Jennifer helped make sure we did that at the beginning because I'm like all over the place. But what we learned, what all of you have indicated to us, was it was the real conversations about us, about the vulnerability, the real personal problems and trip ups and so forth. And as we've gone through these conversations, they've become more and more personal, more and more revealing. And in the after party, when we got the whole group of people, where it's not just Jen and I talking, we got straight up serious and talking about how some of the themes or elements of the conversation that we've brought forth in these collabo sessions could help people, especially in the construction industry where the suicide rate is ridiculously high. And so this wrap up session that we're going to be having in a couple of weeks, we're going to go there. And so, one, thank you all for trusting us and helping us get there. And two, hold on to your lug nuts because it's going to be a party. We're going to go deep, baby. So
hey, Jesse, also, I just want to add that I think through the course of all of these, you hit it a little bit, but we realize that the things we're talking about, there's a lot of stuff out there that's tied to construction. And I think at first we were like, we don't want to lose anybody by not bringing construction in. And we've realized that by wasting the time trying to tie it to construction, when we already know how to tie this to construction, we were losing the opportunities to be able to really connect and talk about those things outside of construction, the people side of lean as a lifestyle, those things that we all experience and we all deal with, we just don't talk about.
Yes. And we are grateful to you all joining and making this community, because that's exactly what it feels like, this community where we can have some vulnerable conversation and get real and also put up with my goofiness, right? Like, Jen, first of all, thank you for making that a safe space. And then we got Will Sullivan from the NYC. Y'all need to hit him up on LinkedIn, follow him. The content he puts out is like straight positive, motivating. You need that charge in the morning.
Yes.
Check him out. He's got some great stuff. Look, John Thacker, that's like,
get ready, John.
That emoji means agreed. That's a commitment. Luis Silveria says, good morning, coming in from Chi-Town. What's up, Luis? Buddy Brumley in the house. Man, we got a whole bunch of people. I love you guys. Archie, we got Mr. Archie here. What's going on? Oh. And we got a witness. Joe Newton. And what I mean by witness, he's actually seen me work for a living. Like, believe it or not, people, I've done work. Like, I don't just play around all the time. What's up, Mr. Newton? How you doing, brother? Okay, I'm getting pumped. Yep, John, it's live. It's been said. Morgan Freeman operatic style coming soon. So, Jen, what do you think? We jump into our agenda
a little bit?
Oh, no. Plus Delta. We got to do plus Delta.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Plus
Come
Delta.
on, Jesse, what are you doing? Here you go again. So here is the plus Delta. We had pluses. We had a lot of pluses, and it's my nature to like deflect, Jen, and dismiss the pluses.
Yep, it is. Absolutely.
And somebody, well, actually two somebodies, Miss Kim White, who is amazing, and she's like many people here, like you, just our tribe, are breathing life into me. And you, Jen, have said, own your impact. And
absolutely.
So because of that,
we struggle. Every person on this call probably struggles owning their impact.
Absolutely. And so I got out of I'm stepping out just a little bit. It's not totally uncomfortable, but I wanted to let's just claim these pluses. And so one of the pluses was Jen mentioning Scrum. And I'm sure Felipe just spilt his coffee because he jumped up and down to hear the word Scrum again. I got a plus for me seeing patterns. I think that was in reference to the patterns in my behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Another plus was that I didn't wear the wig. So again, look, we're baking in the pluses into the program. I didn't wear the blonde wig. Authentic conversations. And Jen, do we ever not have, you and I, do we ever not have authentic conversations?
No, and I think that's what drew us together, Jesse, is even in the very first conversation we had, we were like there 100% in it. And so I think like-minded people, and we've realized looking at the people in this chat, that those are the people we connect to. Those are the people that we're able to relate to. And they're the ones that push us to be better. And I think we saw that in our very first conversation.
Yes, yes, beautiful. I love it. We got y'all are getting better at co-hosting together. It's like Regis and Kathy Lee. So, super. You know what? That's what we need to dress like next time. We need to, we'll have some costumes. And we got a plus the first time being able to tune in live. So thank you. If we got any first timers out there, what's up and welcome, baby. And then Miss Christie, I don't know if she hired a chef, but she's thinking about it.
Yes.
Yep. So those are all the pluses. Thank you for all the love. And we share these so that we can, display what a plus delta, the purpose behind it is. And so the purpose is when you're going to have recurring meetings or recurring engagements is to gather feedback from all the participants. Plus is what did we do? What happened that added value to the experience? And a delta is what are some things that can be approved to enhance the value going forward. And so now we're going to get into the deltas. And you're going to notice, y'all that were here last time, that this one is still up there because we failed to take action on it. And straight up, Jen was supposed to take.
We had a plan that we did not follow through with. Absolutely. Yes. I recruited my daughter to help us, and she identified the TikTok dance that we could do together virtually. And we did not take the time to learn it and do it. So next time.
And I pulled the Jesse and just let it die. Like I didn't follow up or anything. So we both have ownership in that. Yes. So it's up there. We've got to do something about it, Jen.
Yes.
Wish we were
a bigger group next time. So maybe we do like an entire TikTok dance with that entire group and just make it super uncomfortable.
Like a Brady Bunch dance. Ooh, I can dig it. One of the deltas was wish we were all in person. Agreed. And I know somebody out there that's cooking up a conference, and that's an opportunity for us to get back at it face to face. One other delta is the 8 a.m. start. Thank you for the delta on that. And the reality is 8 a.m. is the opportune time for Jen and I to make this connection. And so it's going to stay 8 a.m., but we appreciate the delta, and you can watch the recording at any time, as many times as you want with all of your friends. So please do. And Jesse needs bifocals because, I got to squint and I can't read the damn small writing over here. Boom. So those are our plus deltas. Again, as we go through the conversation, please take notes or just dump them in there to help us make this a pleasurable and valuable experience for you and all the friends that you're going to be recommending it to.
Hey, we have more people. So make sure you hit this.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. Jeez, we got a ton. Okay. Man, I'm going to have to keep my mouth shut because I'm talking too much. Let's see. Where am I?
You go back up. You have to go back. I think it's George. I think he's the next one we didn't hit.
There he is, Mr. George Hunt. What's going on, George? How you doing, my brother? That second time he's back. Oh, George just released a podcast
with Adam and Felipe and Brian.
Yes, Adam, Felipe, and Brian. Y'all got to check it out. It's good stuff. And believe it or not, Miss Jen is brought up multiple times because she's amazing, and the impact, the ripples of impact she's having on the industry are being recognized and touted. So go check out George's podcast there. George, feel free to leave a link in the chat so people can get a piece of it because it's good stuff. Nirkash says, I found it fascinating that it is being applied in construction. Thank you, Nirkash, because me too. Thomas LeMay. What's going on, Thomas? He says he can also. Oh, yeah, that's right. Thomas got to see me work. Actually, Thomas helped onboard me when I had first started at that other job back in the day. We got a report. Felipe is in Mexico, so hopefully he's out there making some. Not hopefully, we know he's making some impact. Who else we got? Oh, we got Woman Gone Global Partners. Eureka here, first timer. That is cool. Thank you for being here. And again, folks, we got a lot of people here from LinkedIn right now. These are all amazing human beings that are in the chat right now. And if you haven't entered the chat, please do, because we want to recognize you and we want to learn with you. But follow each other, because so far everybody that's up here, they're like gangsters. They got game. Like we
got a big party here.
Yeah, yeah, we rolling deep, baby. Come on. Jamie gives them a shout out. And Hussein, I haven't heard from you in a while. You're from plain old Texas. And then we got Dominic, a repeat offender. He was here last time, coming in from Montreal. Okay, so we are at 15 minutes already. Want to keep the ball rolling. Thank you all. Keep the comments coming. Love you. This is so cool. I like it.
So hit Nakash's comment, and that's great transition to our agenda.
Oh, here we go. Boom. So Nurkash tells us one of the key points that Jan spoke about in the previous sessions, which he believed is food for thought. There is no actual work-life balance. This made him rethink this statement, and he says, thank you.
Nice.
I know.
He posted a big old blog post.
Yes, Vance. Man, Vance, thank you, Vance. From Colorado.
We were waiting. We wanted to hit you last so that we can give you the most power, the most attention.
Yes, because we planned it that way. Remember, Jen?
Yes, but you're already Vance, behind. So.
I need to somehow we got to figure out how to get the post in the chat. Vance is blogging about what this conversation has had, and I'm going to tell y'all right now, he is a gifted writer. Like, I read the thing, and if my name wasn't in there, I would have said, man, I want to get to know these people, because they sound serious. Like, damn. But then I put my name in, like, man, he's writing about me. Like, Vance, thank you for doing that. Folks, y'all need to check out his blog.
Put it in the chat. Just tell him. Yeah, he's getting it right now. Yeah, but we need to move on. We're already 2 minutes.
Okay. Christy. Hi, Christy. Moving on. We're over time. All right, Jen, here's the agenda for today. Would you mind reading it? Because I don't have my bifocals.
Happy to. So again, sustain 5S. We're on the 5th one. And I think for us, as we kind of talked and planned for this event today, we realized that this one is easy to go, okay, we got this now. And so we're really going to dig into what that means. And it's not that, hey, we've got it all figured out, so now we can check that box. But a lot of the conversation today is going to be that this one's probably the most important, because you can easily get sidetracked and then you have to pretty much just throw away everything you did up until this point. So the biggest thing for sustain for us is that complete regular audits. And those of you that are in construction can say, oh, yeah, we know what that means. We're going to talk really deep today into what that means outside of work and in our personal lives. And then do we normally walk through the whole thing, or just one at a time?
Let's go overview, and then we'll jump into it.
Okay. And then again, just the 3 points that we're going to hit today, just to set up the time to discuss progress and make improvements. And then number 2, seek professional counseling for deep-seated issues if necessary. And 3, continuous self-improvement efforts through books and other resources, including close friends. So those seem very easy highlights, but we're going to talk about some pretty deep stuff today. So,
yes. She says, well, no, you know what? We ain't letting you off the hook, Miss Jen.
What?
Like she said, and y'all, I need y'all to help hold us accountable, in that we are going to be talking about some deep stuff today. And I'm put this up here. What's been y'all's biggest takeaway, and how have you applied it? So please share that in the chat. And we're going to go into it. You ready?
I am.
Boom. Oh, darn. I got to take the banner off. My bad. See, that's what happens when you don't practice. And so now we're in the 5th S, and we're talking about sustain. And I condensed the damn thing to just say to say status checks. And so what's happened at this point in the reality of how the evolution of these lean love letters is we started working these things, and we had to have like a sustain plan, because we figured out some stuff that was helping the relationship. It definitely helping me, but it was helping. But now how do we bake it in, and how do we make it?
Hold just a second, Jesse. We have some first time people. I'm hoping they've all gone in and listened to everything you've done so far. But just in case, like a 30-second, where these came from? Can you
Yes. So okay. the letters come from a relationship that I was in, that I did a poor job of helping sustain, and I was out. I was 1 foot out the door, and my partner at the time understood that I needed help understanding what the situation was. So she wrote these letters under the 5S banner, because that was the language I spoke. And so she decided to meet me where I was at in an effort to mend the relationship, which there's a whole lot of profound greatness in that. And because, we tried it, and I'm stubborn and I have other issues, and we'll talk about some of that today, how I've worked to overcome that. The relationship did not last. And it was because I said, I can't do it, or I'm not willing to do it, and I got to go. But that's where it came from.
Okay.
Good.
So, yep. Good.
And so in the status checks is like, how are we doing? What's working? What's not? And at this, when she wrote it, it was a map of what we should do when we get there. So one thing that you and I, Jen, talked about in prep was these letters, like this whole 5S in relationships thing, that was only to graduate from stinky, low performer to acceptable, right? Not to get to great. It was just to get out of the mud. And I think that's an important point in any time. If you're applying this stuff in any realm, is what you're doing the first round, there's not a finish line, right? You don't arrive. You get to a point, stabilize the situation, and then build upon it and enhance the situation for everybody that's involved. And so what we had to bake in is like, when are we going to stop and talk about what's working well and what's not working? And you remind me of this quite often, Jen, is what was working for me isn't necessarily working for others. And so we had to have that reconciliation around, is it working? Like, this is fabulous. This is great. Yeah, but not for her. And so, in the romantic relationship space, it wasn't like, okay, checklist, we're doing all of these things and let's roll. It wasn't that. It was like, okay, yay, I'm expecting a parade. But guess what? On the other side of the conversation, there was still discontent, and so more work to be done. Why is sustain important, and why is having, the rigidity of saying we're going to follow up and we're going to have these conversations, is so that we could align ourselves on where we're at. Because if we didn't have that check, guess what? Everything's perfect. I'm happy. She's frustrated, and we continue to miss on the connection or execute at the appropriate level, or the level that we could potentially be executing at. What do you think, Jen?
I think you're right. And I think what you hit on, and even these have happened in some of our previous conversations, is we need to understand when we are good, when we've accomplished something, we have hit a mark, we have done something, and it makes us feel good, and we feel like we're moving forward. That is not the opportunities that we take to grow and learn. We got it. We figured it out. We've gone through these 5S's. We've gone through and done all the things that we feel like we need to do to be better. And so, okay, this feels good. So we just need to keep doing this. And just like we know in our industry or anything else, if we're not continually having those checks and continually trying to figure out, okay, this is why it's working, and maybe this is what could happen in the future, and you're starting to think about that proactively versus reactively, which is everything up until now has been a reaction, and thinking about how do you not let something happen instead of, hey, this is why it's working, but that doesn't mean it's going to be the same thing tomorrow. And you've talked on a couple of examples of like, you knew what was important to her. So you came in and you said, I got this and I'm going to do this and we're going to spend time together and everything should be good. And then she didn't feel where she wasn't where you were.
Yes. Oh man, you're gonna make me go there. Damn it. Here we go. So one, yeah, as you were talking, like success is a poor teacher, because it's very easy for me to feel a measure or a degree of success and think it's all me, baby. I did it. And guess what? Then I'm gonna just go pursue that sensation, without taking into account all the things that are happening and all the things that I need to learn about the situation to be able to repeat it. Now, to your point, so one of the things, this is, y'all tell me how weird this is. I just recently learned how to hug. And I know that, and that's after I've done a Monday morning hug every Monday for a year now, which is just me talking on screen again. But I just learned that when I hug, I don't use like the palm of my hands to have full contact with the other human being. As I'm saying this, it just feels so awkward. When I had that realization, my dear friend Michelle, she pointed that out. She was just asking, like, hey, you did this. Like, do you do that on purpose? Because I kind of like intertwine my fingers, or it's a fist, or it's kind of like, it's just not the full connection. And I was like, no, I didn't do it on purpose. Like, I'm thinking, hey, I'm hugging. Like, I'm not doing the one hand hug anymore. I'm doing like two, like I'm doing good in my brain. But what I learned is like, no, I'm still missing the damn mark. And had we not got to that checkpoint to say, okay, progress, good, there's still a gap, I never would have had, hell, I'm 44 years old and I'm just now learning how to hug. And anyways, when we had that conversation, I'm like, oh, wow. Now I understand why every person I've dated, well, this isn't the only reason. There's probably a lot of reasons, but the common theme is like, I don't show affection or enough affection. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And well, hell, man, if I was never doing the full contact thing, they're feeling that divide, which is an issue. Like, it's a deep-seated issue with me that's come up recently, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. But it's another indicator that there are things for me to work on. And without having the status checks, my awareness stays low. And in the LinkedIn chat, we were challenged to kind of give some advice or some pointers of how to actually make these things work because of the busyness of our lives and our jobs and so forth. I remembered, so here we go. Put it on the damn calendar. Protect it. Honor it. That's how. That's the only way I know how to do it. And whenever I deprioritize it, I got to own the fact that I am indeed deprioritizing it and putting things above that. And when I start owning that, there's a sting of conviction that helps me say, okay, I keep saying that the relationship matters to me, but what I'm showing is that it is less important. And it was 100% true.
And that seems rigid. It seems like, okay, we're talking about relationships. What do you mean it needs to be a box and it needs to be a scheduled time and all that? But the problem is when it's not at the beginning, as you're trying to work through issues or work through things that weren't working before, you have to do something different. And even though it seems rigid and it seems kind of cold because, hey, we got a time and we're going to do this, I try to equate that to in sports, the basic fundamentals of being able to play a sport. We don't go out there and we don't go, okay, we're going to play sports and we're going to do basketball and we need you to shoot the ball and we need you to defend the defender and we need you to make sure that you dribble down the court. Okay, let's go. Like we have to have that foundation that has to be built on repetitive over and over and over again. We're going to make sure our feet are right and our elbows are right and our hands right and we're following through, or we're making sure that we're keeping the ball at a certain distance when we're dribbling. Like there's so many basic things that have to be done as we're growing and as we're building that foundation, and then it becomes second nature and we don't have to think about it and we're doing it, and then we can grow and learn and improve and elevate our game. Same thing with our relationships. We've got to create that foundation to where it's not something we have to think about, and it has to start by putting those things, scheduling the time, being rigid about it, and protecting it.
May I have permission to go to the comments because they're bubbling
Yes,
up?
Yes.
Okay.
Coming back. I'll keep us on track. You're good.
Thank you. Where are we? So we got George Hunt. George says, thanks for the shout out. Oh, he's got the link. Check it out.
Nice.
And he's got part 2 coming out Wednesday. George, appreciate you sharing that resource. Another point, if y'all scroll up to the top of the chat, we talked a little bit in the opening that there's a more serious thing going on, and a lot of us need help, or maybe people in our lives could benefit from resources to help them. You scroll up to the top of the chat, there's a link to it's like an art therapy type thing. It's just a resource. People, please share those resources. We got to help each other out. Mr. Pedro, what's up, Pedro? He says, good morning. Hope everyone is having a great day so far with X Factor. He's got a radio station now. Like he's a social media baller. Oh,
Vance did share his, I believe too. He shared the link up there.
Oh, yes. Okay, there it is. Vance, there, boom. Man, y'all got to check out that blog because he makes me like sound fancy, like super fancy. I'm going to show it to my mom, Vance, today because mom's making menudo, and I'm going to show it to her, and I'm going to get some points. Like she's like, finally, you learn how to behave yourself, goofball. And no, I'm not sharing menudo with anybody. It's my menudo. Alan,
no, before you hit him, go back up. So Brian spoke to Fort Worth Steve Turner, which Steve brought that up in the very beginning. Steve Turner, he brought up that he has those daily huddles with his wife, which has really been, we've brought it into almost every conversation, but how important it is, and also how they've kind of sustained and been able to have those checkpoints, that they're still doing those things. And so again, want to make sure we give him a shout out.
That is true. It was, I can't remember the third agenda item, but it was kudos, kisses. I don't remember the other, but those are pretty damn awesome, right? Like if first thing in the morning, hey, you're awesome, and here's a kiss. Like heck yeah, that's how you want to start a day off.
Yes.
And we got Mr. Allen. What's going on, Allen? He says, thanks as always for your vulnerability to share real application when it comes to technical concepts, Jesse. Yeah, my head's twisted. Consider me a believer in the use case of 5S in relationships. Man, I love that. I love to hear that, Alan. And I'm not going to shower him with too much attention because he doesn't like it, and that's okay. Love you, Alan. Mr. Ian Smith, he answered the previous question. He says to sustain his behavior, he's had to make sure he doesn't overcomplicate anything for himself. Oh my God. Also. He's got to make it align with his morals and values. Jen, you ever overcomplicate anything?
Like all the time. I think you've been a very good balance for that. You've helped me realize that you don't overcomplicate much. And so we talk and I start going somewhere, you pull me back really quick and you just kind of push me in the water and I just have to like figure it out. So yes, absolutely.
It's good. And by the way, did you use your drawing prompt?
I did.
Oh, that's an inside story. It may come out in the future.
Yes.
Mr. Hoot says lack of alignment between doing and saying. Oh, I've heard this saying from a recent leader that I've met at my new job. What is your say-do ratio? Talk about simple and clear. What is the ratio between the things you say and the things you actually do? It should be close to 100, like for real.
But what I've realized too is I'm a doer. And so the ratio is important, but are you saying these 4 or 5 big things and you're accomplishing them, or are you saying 25 or 30 things and doing them? And are they all coming back to actually providing value and input and helping things progress forward? I think that's another conversation.
Good, deep stuff. Oh, okay. Behave, Jesse. Come back. Okay, I'm coming back. Buddy Brumley says our industry is tough on relationships and marriages. Buddy, 100%. I mean, in one of the episodes, what was it? The second collabo session, there was a string of people. They were like, "Oh, I got 3 ex-wives. I got 2. I mean, I got 2, and I got a whole lot more exes." Absolutely, and that's not. I know I say it with an energy that seems like I'm bragging. It's not. It's our industry and the way we interact with our work and all of that 100% contributes to that. You say something, Jen?
No, I was going to say, and the second part of his goes right back to Steve Turner's. I mean, it's almost adding on to the value. I think it's, he says they use dry erase markers with their visual lean processes. Take it home and use a marker and write a note on your king or queen bathroom mirror regularly. So it's that, I mean, it's that, what does that look like? And you're continually doing it. To sustain doesn't mean, hey, we figured it all out. Now let's make sure we capture it and we check the boxes. It's how are you continually growing and learning? And and I hate to say it, but it is a continual go back and we got to sort again. We got to make sure that, I mean, it's like there's so many things that you're doing that is very cyclical in a lot of these processes. Thank you, guys.
Oh, you know what? I would, this is what we need to do. Call out to everybody out there, the L&M family. That is such a simple thing. Get your dry erase marker that you're using out at the job site. Make sure it's a dry erase marker. Go to your mirror and write down whatever your takeaways are and what you intend to apply to mend or enhance the relationships that you're in. Take a picture of it and post it in the chat. Like, let's have a little bit of action-oriented accountability. That would be amazing if we did that. Because when we display that kind of behavior, people will have an example to anchor on. And we're going to plant a seed in somebody else out there that is suffering or that feels lost and drowning in a relationship that's coming to an end. And by us doing that, we can give them some reprieve and give them some hope and give them some actionable items to do to get out of the quicksand that they're in.
Yes.
So you can do that or not. Keep listening and sharing. We love that too.
Okay, so stop with Buddy, and then we're going to go back to the agenda, and then we have some other things in there I think are important, but I want to hit the next
yes,
kind of our first action point.
Okay.
Just keeping us on track.
No, I love it. So we're going to the next one.
So bring the agenda up. Okay. Cool. So again, we've hit this, I think, so that way we can kind of move forward a little bit. So the first one, very specific, was set up the time to discuss progress and make improvements. And in the smaller font, which Jesse absolutely cannot read, it says talk about what worked, what's working, and what didn't. And I think we've hit that a little bit on, yes, this is great, let's just keep doing it, but also maybe what's not. And I want to hit that one specifically, Jesse, because you and I have talked about this, is you and I are on this and we're talking and we're sharing our, things that have affected us and our thoughts and our opinions and our perspective. But what we haven't addressed is that they're getting my perspective, they're getting your perspective, but relationships and the ones we've talked about involve other people. And we're not getting those perspectives on here. And so I think that's something we need to make sure we talk about, in that we can say what we're saying based on our perspective, and then you're hearing that and then you're going and applying it. But we have to make sure in these conversations, when we're thinking about this in our own lives and the people that are impacted by maybe some changes or some things we're going to do, is there are 2 perspectives. And I say this a lot at the job site, and I think it applies at home. When I'm speaking at any point in any conversation, when I'm speaking, the only point of reference that is happening in that conversation is mine. And so if I shut up and I allow for that space to, for someone else to talk and give their views and their opinions, then there's a whole nother, conversation and perspective that plays into all of this. And we've got to remember that, yeah, this is great. Now I've got the checklist. Now I can walk away from here and I'm going to make this better. It doesn't, it involves more than one person.
That kind of sounds like all the people that have always told me the world does not revolve around me. Something to that effect. I need evidence of that. But you're dead on, Jen. I mean, it's easy for y'all know I like to talk. I got a lot to say. I got a lot of energy. But if you've interacted with me one-on-one, Jen, you know this. I'm pretty good at asking questions and not talking.
And deflecting.
And deflecting, of course.
Absolutely.
And it's a skill that requires practice. It requires reps, just like we've been talking about this 5S thing. One of the first things I started doing, and so here's another point of cheat code for you. If you struggle listening, and what I mean, let's go down to like kindergarten level. If you struggle with talking more than the person in front of you, that's an indicator that you're not listening. And so what's the first thing we can do? The first thing you can do to start building your listening muscle is pay attention to how much airtime you're taking up. We're not at calculus level yet, right? You don't need to be listening for the story they're telling themselves. You need to move your mouth less. And it's easy to say. So here's the action. Here's the check. Are you talking more than the person in front of you? If you have more airtime than that other person that needs to be taken into account, you're doing a miserable job of listening, like straight up. And here's like some magical thing that happens. You may not be listening worth a damn either, but the fact that you're not moving your mouth makes the other person feel heard. Get that down and come back next time for lesson number 2.
I want to add to that, Jesse, because I have got another kind of example, and it may be an exercise that I would challenge you to do with the person that, you feel like y'all are good, your communication's good, or it's not. I can do this with my kids. So okay, we're going to go into this conversation and I'm going to share my stuff. At any point from what I'm saying, you have something to say, raise your hand. And if it happens within 5 seconds, or if it happens in 15 seconds, are you really listening to what they're saying, or are you now ready to respond to what they're saying?
Yeah.
And the longer it takes for you to raise your hand. Now, again, that doesn't mean you have to shut your brain down, but if you are genuinely watching them, listening to them, looking at their cues and hearing the words they're saying, and then, later in the conversation, it triggers something in you and you want to add to it or whatever, and you raise your hand, just look at the time and again, that you have to both be honest with each other on where, where does your brain go? If Jesse starts talking and I'm like, oh, I got an idea, and my hand goes up, am I really listening to what he's saying?
I like that. That's a good one. That's a hard one.
It is. It's really hard. And I realize I have had to work a lot on listening.
We all do.
Yes. Okay. Number 2. You ready?
Ready. So what does number 2 say? Okay.
Number 2 is seek professional counseling for deep-seated issues if necessary. So I'm going to let you kick this one off, and then I have some examples I want to talk about.
I was kind of hoping we'd skip that one.
Nope.
Damn it.
Nope.
Oh, baby. Okay. So I condensed that to say self-improvement resources. And like I mentioned earlier, there's a link in the chat.
No. Are you sure? Because I think that's number 3.
No, that's number 2.
What's number 3?
Number 3 is objective perspectives. No?
Okay.
Let's try it again. What does it say? Seek professional counsel. Yeah.
Okay. Well, look at number 3.
You're right. Objective perspectives. Damn it. I mean, awesome. Thank you, Jen, for making sure we're good. So I'm going to say it. I have a therapist. And I know that might have come across kind of weird. the reason I need to say it that way is because I know me. It was the idea of getting a therapist was like a ridiculous, laughable idea. And even more than that, it was, I used to see it as a sign of weakness and failure. Now, where does that come from? Right? It comes from a mode of thinking that I've adopted as a result of being in the space that I'm in. And that space, like Buddy mentioned earlier, our industry is man, you want to talk about hard on relationships. It's hard on relationships, but let's zoom in a little bit more. How hard is it on the psyche of the people in the industry? Like where it's not cool to ask for help. It's not cool to say, I have a therapist. And more importantly, I needed a therapist. I didn't know how much I needed a therapist. And like straight up, I've had several therapists. They were court mandated therapists, right? They were helping me through issues, and it was by the state of Texas was the only reason that I went and did the damn thing. And it wasn't only until recently where I actually went out and independently sought a therapist. And so there was things that I was wrestling with in my head. And so here's the value of that. The value that I have found is before going to a therapist, what I would do is I would reach out to people within my network that I trusted and to get their opinion and their thought of where my mind was and what my actions were, and which of course the story was one-sided. And I convinced myself that what I was doing was I was finding good, honest people to help keep me true and help keep me honest. What I was really doing was compiling a group of accomplices that were going to tell me everything's a-okay. You're doing great, Jesse. It's not you, it's them. And so when I finally went and got the therapist, I had an objective perspective. So there was no emotional risk for my therapist. And she was committed. She was professional and committed and properly trained such that she could guide me down the examination of what was actually going on. And even worse, well, even better. I mean, it feels bad in the moment, but long term, it's like, oh, this was so good. I need more. Help me examine and understand where this maladapted behavior started. It started a long, long time ago. And through the course of life and the decisions I make, those things get reinforced and reinforced and reinforced. And so one of the contributors to the failure or the dissolving of this relationship was I've developed this elaborate scheme of defense mechanisms such that they're instinctual now. I don't like the hugging thing I mentioned, or like, it's just, I don't even know that I'm doing it. It's just happening. And it's all designed to protect me, to protect my feelings. Because I also discovered as a result of having a therapist, before that, I thought I had two feelings, because I would feel hungry and I would feel sleepy. Other than that, whatever. Now I discover I got a whole bunch more feelings than just hungry and sleepy. And so I'm trying to protect this, and it's all based in fear, right? I fear abandonment. That is the biggest fear I have within me. And every way that I function and roll and think and respond and deflect and all of these things are designed to keep me isolated, because when I connect with people, the risk of abandonment goes up. And it was my therapist. Yes, go ahead.
I want to push you a little bit because I know you love this. So we've talked about fear, and we've talked about how fear can direct us and misdirect us a lot. Yep. And so I posed this question to you, and you kind of squirmed a little bit. So I think it's important we go there. And so when we started talking about this section specifically, when we talk about getting help,
yes,
we talk about needing something outside of ourselves. And this fear from that, and being scared to do that. For you, Jesse, where did that fear start?
We should go to the comments right now. So the fear started. Oh man, I'm gonna say we'll say elementary school, like fifth, sixth grade. Um, Now I wasn't seeking a therapist back then. What I was seeking was somebody that I could count on, that I could get perspective from. And what would happen is whenever I found whoever it was I selected as to fill that role, they left my life. And like a simple example of that is my fourth grade teacher, Miss Helmke. One day we were taking class pictures and I wouldn't smile on purpose, right? And she called me out. She's like, Jesse, well, I was Jesus back. This was before I became the amazing Jesse. She's like, Jesus, like, why don't you smile in your pictures? And I was like, well, because like smiling's dumb. She didn't accept that answer. And she dug deeper. She asked the next question. And I ended up crying, and it was because of the pain that I had from all the fun, wonderful things, not really, that were happening at home, and all the stuff that was in my head. Um, and mm, and she told me it wasn't my fault, and I didn't believe that. But she was the first person that told me all those things were not my fault. And man, I needed that more than anything I knew. Well, as life goes, and I didn't fail, so I passed to fifth grade. Guess what? Miss Helmke's out of my life. And so there was these multiple, that was like a nice one, but there were other situations throughout my life where I would connect with somebody and draw what I needed from them, but they would leave. Sometimes on purpose, sometimes irresponsibly, sometimes just because it was the nature of the roles that we were playing outside of the connection. The way I took it was they're all leaving me. And every time that happened, I felt abandoned. And because of that, I have that fear and the guards up so that I don't get abandoned.
And and your response to that was, I got to figure this out on my own. I got to figure
Yes.
out how to make it work.
Yes. I can't count on anybody. I got to do it all by myself, which brings us all the way back to now. I don't need nobody. I'm going to get this job done. I'm going to do whatever. We are going to make it happen. And to zoom out back to the industry, we don't need nobody. I'm going to do this all by myself. I'm going to work 16 hours a day. I'm going to work 20 hours a day. I'm going to skip vacation. I'm going to skip his ball game. I'm going to skip her recital. I'm going to skip anniversaries. Right? I'm not saying this in judgment. These are things that I've all done and very likely will do again. But we get lost. I got lost in self-reliance and convinced myself that it was okay, and it was absolutely not. It's totally unhealthy.
Absolutely. And I think a big takeaway in just listening to you, Jesse, talk is think about the people you have around you, think about the people that are in your space. Are they people that hook arms with you and walk with you, or do they stand in front of you and hold the mirror? And again, that doesn't mean you don't need both people, and doesn't mean it can't be the same person doing both of those things. But I know for you and I, and for other people, some other people in our group, is when those people love you enough, trust you enough, care about you enough to stop and don't just continue down that road with you, but stop and make you stop and hold that mirror in front of you and really have those conversations. I mean, that's when change happens. That's when growth happens. That's when, something is going to be different than it was yesterday. And I think those are things we need to challenge ourselves with when we're in the middle of something. And Jesse, you spoke about some of the things and how you got here. And, are those people the ones that call you and go, let's go out to the bar? Are those people the ones that call you and go, hey, let's go do this? But what's the purpose? What's the meaning? Is it helping you? And again, we all need those times where we're like able to relax and kind of, just decompress. But again, is there also opportunities there that are helping you continue to move forward?
Yeah, and I'm going to say this because it's kind of what I'm feeling right now. Everybody, I hear all the time, I want to improve, I want to grow, I want to hit my goals, I want to. like heads up, man, because there's pain associated with that. There is pain in growth, and you got to be ready for it. There's sacrifice in achieving your goals. We talk about, set your goals, set smart goals. Wow, 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 wow. How many times have you set a list of what you're going to have to sacrifice to achieve the goal? And in sacrifice, there is pain. So be ready.
Yes. So I have an example. It happened last night. So I think it's so relevant, and then we can move on to the next topic because it's so real right now. So my 10-year-old tried out for honor choir, which is like an extracurricular activity. So it's it's outside of their normal day. If you make the honor choir, then you get to go and do some after school stuff and go to the Meyerson, some fun outside. So so her older sister tried out in 5th grade and made it and was able to be a part of that. So she tried out and found out last night that she didn't make it. And for her, I mean, it was, and let's put this in perspective. 137 kids tried out, 60 made it. So again, it's a pretty, there's a lot of kids that, however they chose to do it or not. She was, last night she couldn't even talk. She was so upset.
Yeah.
And as a mother, you want to go, it's going to be okay. It's, they didn't know they didn't realize what, and I have done that in the past because that's where you want to go. You want to comfort, you want to whatever. But for her, I had to stop and I had to go, you know what? Sometimes things happen like that. It didn't help. It didn't help at all. Where she went, and again, this is a 10-year-old, where she went is on Mondays, which is when she has choir in class, is also the days that she gets pulled out to go to speech therapy. She gets pulled out of choir to go to speech, which is something she's done since 1st grade because she stutters and stuff. And so she then went to, it's because of that I didn't do as well and I didn't make honor choir. And why do I have to go to therapy? She went there last night in the conversation. And we've been doing this, and I've been doing this for 3 or 4 years, Mom. And I don't stutter as much as I did. And so why do I even have to still go to speech? And if I didn't have to go to speech, then maybe I would have been better at choir. Like she did this in her little 10-year-old brain. And she's not in it just because it's something fun for her. Like it's something that's helping her.
Yep.
And that's where she went, to where I shouldn't even have to go to that anymore. And then that way I could stay in class and be better. That's a 10-year-old brain. Where do we go when we're trying to justify going and getting help versus doing things that we want to do? And I had to not be that hugger and it's going to be okay. I had to kind of let her work through it. And then this morning, before we got on today, I said, Alex, I know last night was rough. I said, what did we learn? She goes, Mom, we don't always get what we want.
Ooh.
And again, for a mother in that mode, it's like it was tough because we want to just cater and we want to go into what feels good and for our kids even more than anything. And for me, that's where everything revolves around. But like we have to understand that we're teaching them things at that level, that how they're going to deal with some of that stuff as they grow, and we deal with that in our adult life, and they're dealing with those things right now.
Yep. And it's the biggest, most ginormous thing that's ever happened to them, and it's real. So we've got to honor that. We can't minimize that, right? You know how many times I fell in love before I got to 7th grade? Every single one of them was absolutely real. And so all of these things that our kids are going through, we've got to honor that and recognize that it's, don't dismiss it. Don't minimize it. Let them feel their feelings. I think that's what you did, Jen.
But also acknowledge that we have to grow and we have to learn. And you know what? I told her, and that we're going to fail and we're not going to get everything we want. And I hate to say it, but right now we're dealing with an entire generation of people that are just used to getting what they want. And so they just can go and do what they want to do. And there's not accountability. And we're in that position, a lot of us with kids, that we're having to raise the next generation and the kids coming into this industry and into this world. And what are we doing to help them?
Yeah.
Okay. Your turn now.
I love it.
Moving on.
So we got 17 minutes.
Mhm.
I'm going to propose that we condense the plus delta so that we can touch on the comments and jump into the final point. What do you say?
Yes, absolutely. Because I want to hit the final point, and then I know we've got so much content in the chat, and so we can hit the final point a little bit, hit the chat, and then be able to do the plus delta. Yes.
Done.
Absolutely.
Okay. Moving on to the final point. Point
Okay.
number 3.
Yeah. So number 3, continue with self-improvement efforts through books and other resources, including close friends. So we've hit on that a little bit.
Yep.
But we did focus on the self part, which you can pull that banner up now because it's the right one. But we continue with that self-improvement efforts through how are we learning, how are we growing. But for me, it's that also how are we including those close friends in that growth. And of course, he's going to freeze. Jesse, he does this. So I'm going to keep talking until he jumps back in. And so what I've realized, and Jesse and I have talked about this specifically, and I know Adam and Jesse and I are on calls weekly where we talk through what does that look like and how do we lean on each other. And I kind of goes back to that mirror comment. Oh, welcome back.
Yeah, I've no idea. I had a power flash here in the house.
So again, the mirror comment came from, again, who do you have around you? Who's in your space? And how are they helping you not only reflect back and talk to you about how you see yourself, but also what they see? And there's exercises and so many things you can do with people around you to talk about that. Brian and I talked about that on another call. But how are we identifying what we see in ourselves, and how are we also listening to what others see in us? And I think it's so important, and we've got to make sure we're creating the space for that. And then
Yes.
What you got, Jesse?
I guess we're moving on to the third point.
Yeah, I'm like halfway through it. You're like, we just kept going. We didn't wait for you.
I love it. Not sure what happened, but back. So we're talking about self-improvement resources. What stands out to me, or what I recall from this thing, I read a lot. And whether you like it or not, y'all, Audible counts as reading. So I read a whole bunch. But the nuance in this idea was self-improvement, reaching out, like outside resources, including friends. And that was an important point for us because in that relationship, I have a lot of friends. I'm kind of a social guy, and it's easy for people to have some kind of insecurity about the friends other people have or about the resources other people tap into. And so I'm going to bring it out to resources. Y'all may not know this, but there's a group of us: Felipe, Joe, Keon, Brian, who am I missing? Steve Turner, like Jen, Adam, Ian, Jason, like they're all these people.
Spencer, yes.
Spencer, right? Vance. We got tons of people. Yes.
Yes.
We all work for competing companies. But we come together for a common purpose to support each other and to improve the industry. And it's important. I mean, with us, we've built that level of trust so that we need that. Like, we're all leading change out there in the world, and it is taxing. When you're the only person and you show up and people are rolling their eyes like, oh, here we go. Here comes the damn lean person. You feel like you're failing all the time. And you think it's your fault. It's not. And when we come together as a community, we get to recharge our batteries and realize like, oh, okay, I don't suck. Or maybe I do, but not as much as I thought I did. Now, what I've experienced in my history, of working for different companies, is there was always a little like, well, wait a minute. Why are you sharing your stuff with them? Why are you talking with them? They're our competitors. And so that's kind of the takeaway from this, right? Mm-hmm. We can go and learn and build ourselves and refill our cups and improve by tapping into our network and more important, maybe not tapping into, but connecting at a deeper level with our network. So in the professional space, there's the example. In the personal space, back to the cheat code of how do you make this happen? How do you make this work? We had this conversation. The conversation was, the assessment was, Jesse, like, it doesn't seem like you care. Her thing was, it bugs me that you have so many lady friends and that you're always out there and connecting and fun and joking. So naturally that sent some mixed signals. He's like, maybe I just have more insecurities than you do. And I said, no, ma'am. Here's the list. Like, if we're just going to talk, let's talk. Here's the list of dudes that are your friends that are like ballers that make me wonder, how much game do I got? How long is it going to be till I'm out the house? The difference is I don't project my insecurities onto you. And so that's the cheat code. We all have insecurities. The challenge is, own your insecurity and keep it under your hat and talk about it in a calm manner when you're in a calm state. We all have insecurities, but to project my insecurities on the other person, that's inappropriate and will dissolve the relationship like that.
I think it's important. I think there's a balance of not projecting, but absolutely don't just hold it in. Because I mean, I've been on the other side of that in a woman in an industry that is primarily, with men, and the second guessing and the questioning and the being out late and traveling and all of that. And not, I guess, not acknowledging that could be an issue or something that, on the flip side of that is, we've got to make sure that we don't just hold it in and not talk about it. And it needs to be in a safe space, but we also have to acknowledge that it's real, and that, and if we don't talk about it and we just like keep it under our hat, and we're not going to, that it's still going to be there. It's still going to be a question every time somebody goes out, every time you get on a plane, every time, again, we have to have those open conversations and acknowledge that it's real, but it is also part of the job. And how can we work through that to where you feel good and you feel comfortable in what's going on, but we also acknowledge that it's it's something that bothers you.
Yes. If you danger, if you're holding it in, because it will fester and grow and become this really ugly, unattractive situation. Mm-hmm. Have the conversation when you're in a less emotional state,
right?
Don't just time out. And we talked about that in one of the other sessions. Like, how did we do that? We came up with some language that said, okay, we need a pause. I'm not ready to have this conversation objectively.
But really quick, but we also, and we need, and this is hard, and I think it's so simple sometimes that we discount it. Mm-hmm. We cannot negate, we cannot diminish what somebody else feels. So think about that. Whether it's real, whether it's true, whether it's a lie, whether it's a fabrication, if that's what they feel, we can't just go, it's not right, you're crazy, that doesn't make sense, you shouldn't worry about that. I mean, again, I can say this applying it to my kids, but just as much as if it's somebody else going, I think that you're out doing something that you shouldn't. We cannot diminish what somebody else feels. We have to acknowledge that is what they're feeling. It may be based on something not real. It may be based on something that is a misrepresentation of something. But if that's how they feel, you have to go to that place. You cannot just discount it.
You got it. And so what does that have to do with shine? Here's what it has to do. If we don't go there, the damn thing's going to fall apart. I'm sorry, that one too, sustain. One of those S's. We got to go there. It's not easy. It's not easy on the job site. It's not easy on the shop floor. It sure as hell ain't easy at home. But we've got to be prepared to go there, to get the mud on your boots, to be transparent, to be vulnerable, to be scared, to be honest. It's not easy. But the other side of that is tremendous value. It will get better. And like Adam says, it's small J's, right? Small bits of improvement. You're going to introduce an improvement into the system, performance is going to drop. So make it a small improvement so that the performance drops. We learn the new technique, the new style, the new method. We experience the improvement, and then we add another one, which, by the way, is really a P trap, but I'm going to go with Adam on the J's. Okay, so we're down to 7 minutes. Thinking we go into comments and plus deltas.
I think that's perfect. I think we should have time to hit all of it. So you probably got to scroll up because they have been crazy over there. They've been over there. So again, we'll go through the comments that are already there, but also maybe start adding the plus deltas, and then we can hit those as we hit them down at the bottom. Okay.
Oh my goodness, where do I start?
We've been hitting a lot of things.
Oh, look, Thomas says he's instituting a say-do leadership index. Oh, gangsta. Let's see that. I like that idea. Okay, focus, Jess. My brain is running away. Jason tells us this is one of the hardest things to do, really listening. Yeah, for real, bro. We are all taught, or at least I was, to be right and always have the answers. Oh, man. Cheat code. You get extra points when you say, I don't know.
Yes.
It's okay to say that. I know it ain't easy, but man, that'll help you.
And Christy, if you say it to your kids, at first they're going to go, what do you mean? But the more you say it to your kids and then you figure it out together, they realize it's okay for them to say it.
Yes, they are watching us. They are learning from us. And not just kids, like all the people around us. Christy says she's really grown from facing fear with her therapist. So thank you, Christy. We got 2 people here that got their therapists. Like it's okay. Even the cool people have them. Deion Sanders. I remember Deion Sanders once said, you can have a lot of yes guys, but you need to have at least one no guy to bring you back to earth. Which for many is a therapist to talk you through those things. 100%. No bobbleheads. You surround yourself with bobbleheads, you're headed for disaster. My goodness, you weren't kidding. We got a bunch of stuff. Okay. Brian says, if I leave first, then they can't abandon me.
That's where you were though, right?
That's where I'm mostly at still. Working in that away from that. But yes, if I split first, guess what? I win, or at least I don't lose, right? I don't get hurt. Dominic says, when the student is ready to learn, the teacher appears. Yes. I love it. Adam says, the next question, go a little deeper. Yeah, that's a conversation we've had, right? It's the next question.
You ask the next question.
When you ask that next question, and Jennifer does it to me live all the time, which is meaningful. I mean, it helps. It hurts in the moment, but it helps.
But it also shows that you're not just surface, because sometimes people, like you walk by people in the grocery store, how are you doing today? Or, you ask and you keep walking because like you're not really, it's surface. You're doing it because it's the check the box. But are you really doing it because you want to know the answer? And if you're really listening and you're actively caring about that other person, then you're going to ask the next question because you really want to make sure you're getting the depth of the answer.
You got it. So I'm going to start skipping y'all, not because I don't love you, just because y'all have been extremely active and my mouth has been moving most of the time. Jake says, you can't be the person you want to be by continuing to be who you are today. Watch out, drop in wisdom. Women Gone Global says we must create that space for kids too. Yes. And we can. Like, we absolutely can.
And that will help those as they grow into being adults, into being out in society, into dealing with the things that we're actively dealing with right now.
Yes. Brian says, no unspoken disagreement. So looking for pluses and deltas. But thank you. God, my goodness, this is amazing. I'm like, where do I go? I'm having so much fun. So Ian says, one of these reasons I stay off as much social media as possible would inflame any insecurities. Ian, I appreciate you being out there and being a part of this. This is, I know where you're at, bro, and I love it that you're here with us. Thank you. Oh, here now, jumping to the pluses. Brian says Genesee is a plus. And so if y'all don't know that somehow it's became a thing where we start like mashing our names and got another plus of vulnerability. Mr. Nakash says listening is easier said than acted upon. 10-4 on that one. Another plus, pain is growth, must sacrifice to achieve the goal. This statement makes the challenge easier. Awesome. I'm glad that landed with you, Mr. Nakash. So we're at 9:14, y'all. Scroll up to the top of the chat. The link to the Clubhouse after party is there. I don't know how hard I think you can just click it and boom, you're going to be in. We're going to continue the conversation. And again, I got to drop the teaser, Jen. We're going to have a one wrap-up episode. We're going to go deep. We're going to have some special guests. We're going to be live streaming and TikTok dancing with a group of people up here. What do you think, Jen?
So 2 weeks from now. So again, same time, same bat channel, same everything else. But yes, and then we're going to add some special guests to the live stream.
Boom. Final thoughts for the group?
Thank you, Juan, again. And I say this every time, and y'all just keep showing up and you keep proving me right, which is always great. But the value of this, Jesse and I come in and we talk. We don't do a lot of prepping because he doesn't prep, but I'm telling you, the conversations and what you add to it in the chat and you being here, like every time, it has just elevated these every single time.
Yes, 100%. Well, that's time. And I don't have the thank you video, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
With full palms on the back because I love y'all, and we'll be on Clubhouse here within the next couple of minutes. I'm gonna take a bio break. That's what I'm gonna do. And then I'll get on the Clubhouse call.
Okay. See you soon.
Peace.
Bye.